Aubrey, I am excited for today's episode. We are going to give listeners the number one thing holding them back from a 7 or higher in writing. Now, how do we know this? How can we even gather this data?
We have graded a lot of essays, you guys. Jessica, I think you graded over 10,000 essays as an examiner, right? I feel
Yep.
like I do that many every day.
I graded over 10,000 essays as an IELTS examiner, and just as teachers, as IELTS coaches, you and I have graded easily that number, maybe more together, right? So, guys, we know the biggest problems that are keeping students like you, high level students, keeping you from getting past that 7 or higher. There's so many people, like a listener that wrote in, we'll read that question in a second, but so many people get stuck at a 6.5. And getting
Yes.
to that 7 is so hard.
Yes, it is, right? Even once you have strategies, right? We have these amazing 3 key strategies our students learn, and then they're practicing. It's not enough just to learn the strategies and then go on to, you have to practice them. You have to write a lot of
Yeah.
practice essays. You need feedback because it's just not a given that you can automatically do all of the things the examiner's looking for in your essays.
Exactly. So today, guys, we're going to help you out with this. We're going to tell you the number one issue with general task one, academic task one. And then in the second half of today's show, we'll describe the number one problem with students' task two essays, including an example. All right. So let's get to it. Let's read the question first, Aubrey.
All right. So the question says, I have already participated in the IELTS exam 5 times
That's
and I
crazy.
got an overall 7 in all. However, I am stuck with a 6.5 in writing, whatever I do. I know a lot of you out there are in that same boat. You're like, yes, preach. It's so frustrating. And this listener says, and my teacher told me that I do not have any chance to get better. Please tell me, what can I do? I feel devastated and nervous. And that's from Parissa. First of all, Parissa, I'm so sorry that
Oh
your
my
teacher told you this.
gosh.
That is not true for anyone.
Who is this teacher? I'm so sad for Parissa and any other students of this terrible IELTS teacher. How could you tell someone there's no chance to get better? That is not true, guys. Every one of you can get the scores you need. You can, right? It's just a mix of strategies and great English, right? And these are both things you can learn and improve. So let's get to it. Let's help you improve writing today. Let's talk about academic task one first, Aubrey. What do you think is the number one reason why students just aren't getting those sevens in academic task one?
All right, here on the podcast, we have talked to you guys a ton about how to get these high task response scores and how to get those high organization scores, cohesion, coherence, right? And we
Mhm.
see students using these strategies and boosting those scores.
Yeah.
But almost every essay I grade, I still see vocabulary scores being affected
Mm,
as students are learning this really high scoring, impressive vocabulary, but
mhm.
then not being careful with how they're using it or using it too much,
Yeah.
repetition. So here's an example. You'd learn a great phrase for an academic task one essay that's showing how information changes over time. And you want to say when it got the lowest. And
Mhm.
you learn this great phrase, hit rock bottom. But then I'll see in an essay, it changed. And maybe they would have something like it rock bottomed or
Oh
it
no.
rocked to the bottom, right? So they're kind of thinking about all of the grammar rules they know and changing maybe the verb, right? They're sort of taking risks and not sticking with a phrase. Some phrases like this have to be used in a very specific way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it pulls down your vocabulary score.
I see that too. I definitely see that too. I mean, there's a lot to remember, guys. I think learning which numbers to choose, what numbers to put in your essay, like that's easy. Like once you know what numbers to choose, it's easy, right? You know, oh, okay, these four numbers, this is what I'm going to put in my essay. And then you learn great linking phrases, right? Easy to use. But I agree that vocabulary is the number one thing holding students back from a 7. Like you said, they'll only use a couple great phrases and then the rest will be simple vocabulary.
Right.
They'll overutilize, right? They'll repeat one or two phrases. So I agree. That definitely is the problem. So guys, Go back and listen. We have so many episodes about great task one vocabulary. Check out our YouTube channel as well, IELTS Energy TV. Lots of great resources there. Learn vocabulary for static and change over time, right? Make sure they are separated because they're different functions. You need different vocabulary. We've talked about that on the show. You can find it for sure. But yeah, I agree. So improve that vocabulary, don't repeat it, and make sure you have a large range to choose from. Okay, what about general training? What about that letter for task 1? What's the biggest issue there that you've seen?
Yeah, the biggest problem that I see is inappropriate tone or the tone not being consistent throughout a letter.
Yeah.
So, for example, you might be writing a letter to a friend, and in the beginning, it's very informal, it's great. And then by the end, it's almost like you remember all of these formal letters you've written, and you start slipping back into this formal tone and
Totally.
using these very formal phrases, and that just ruins your score.
Yeah, exactly. I'll see this also, and it has to do with tone. Students using like academic transition phrases in an
Yes,
informal letter, right?
right.
And that's cohesion coherence, but it's also tone because you're choosing the wrong type of words. You might be using however correctly, but it doesn't sound right when you're writing to a friend. So it's like due to the fact that I love you and have known you forever. You can stay at my house this weekend. And I was just like, you can't
Exactly.
say due to the fact that, like, that doesn't make sense. So you still do need great vocab and great transition phrases for an informal letter, but they have to all be informal.
Right. So I have a couple of examples here. So in a letter to a friend, you might see a formal phrase like, I was absolutely ecstatic when I received your exemplary note.
Oh,
And that is just so formal. This is not how you would talk to or write to a
that's
friend.
very weird.
Instead, that is very weird, right? A 7 or higher phrase to a friend would be like, I was super stoked when I saw your email. Listen to the difference. Which one would you say to a
Yeah.
friend?
And it's the type of information you put in there as well that affects the tone. Like you could personalize it, right? Pretend you're really talking to a friend and you could add a little detail in there. Like, I was super stoked when I saw your email. Life has been crazy. I was just putting the baby down for a nap and I saw that you emailed me. Like, if we put in like a little conversational detail like that,
Totally.
it really puts the tone into focus.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the flip side, let's say you're writing a letter to a corporation, but you include an informal phrase like, besides, your policies are totally vague. And that's how you would talk to a friend, right? Not to a corporation. So for 7 or higher instead, like Jessica was saying, or more formal linking phrase, you could say, what is more, these
Mm.
policies are decidedly vague.
Much more formal. Fantastic. All right, let's get into task 2. So, of course, task 2 is graded the same, whether you're general or academic. The questions are a little bit easier for general training students, but guys, you're expected to produce the same type of work regardless of if you're general or academic. Okay. So, the number one issue I see holding students back in task 2, and Aubrey, I'm curious if you agree. Um, the ideas themselves, like having too many ideas in there or repeating ideas or not supporting the ideas, not gluing the ideas together in a logical order or gluing them together using great linking phrases. I'll see essays that have amazing grammar and vocabulary but use like 2 linking phrases in the whole essay, right?
Yeah.
Or just like list out so many ideas because the person's so smart. And that's such a low score for task if you do that. So that's the
Yes.
biggest thing I see.
I absolutely agree, and sometimes I can just see that either the problem was in the brainstorm where they came up with way too many
Yeah.
ideas,
Yeah.
or was maybe while they were writing, instead of sticking to their brainstorm, they came up with some more ideas and included those, and you just don't have time to support all of those ideas well if you share too many.
Exactly. So I have a little example for you guys. I'm going to read the band 6 6.5ish paragraph, okay? So guys, this is about a band 6. There are numerous reasons why urban dwelling is preferable over living in a small town. There's so much vitality in a city: bars, restaurants, sports clubs. Also, it's much easier to find employment, as with more businesses and services, there will, of course, be more jobs. Cities are just easier and more convenient. Okay, guys, so there's some great vocab in there. There's some examples, there's some specific ideas, but the ideas don't go together, right? I'm just like throwing out different ideas, and it would score highly for vocab and grammar, but not for task and cohesion coherence.
Yes, let's look at a band 7 or higher example. You want me to read this one?
Yeah, go for it.
As to the reasons I feel that urban dwelling is preferable to a small town life, the main one is the vitality that a city has to offer. For instance, all the eateries, sports clubs, and artistic activities that exist in every major metropolis are there for the taking every day. Personally speaking, as an extrovert, I cannot fathom the quiet, dull life of living in a tiny town. The energy of a dynamic city cannot be denied.
Mhm.
What a difference. You can see how these ideas build and support each other.
Yeah, yeah. And we're only talking about one thing, right? The how exciting the energy is in a city. That's it. That whole paragraph is focused on that one main idea, right? And I know, like, jobs, convenience, there's a bunch more stuff we could say for sure. Do I have to put it in my essay? No. So definitely listen to today's episode a couple times, guys. Really think about the difference in those two task two paragraphs, why one is a 6 or a 6.5, even because of the vocab, and why the other is definitely a 7 or higher. And guys, make sure you hit follow because we are coming up with new ways to teach you IELTS every week. So hit follow right now, guys. And if you don't mind, take a minute to rate and review us wherever you're listening right now, because it helps other amazing adults find us when they're looking for podcasts.
Awesome. Yes. Thanks, Jess. I'm excited for all of you to get over that 6.5 hump, get the 7 that
Yes.
you need on IELTS writing. We know you can do it. Unlike
Yes.
Parissa's teacher, this is not true. Everyone has the capacity to increase their scores and get the score you need on IELTS.
If your teacher ever says that to you, guys,
I
don't
hear them.
go to that teacher again, okay? Just
Exactly.
don't. Okay, guys, we'll see you next week. Bye.
See you next week. Bye.